Hello dear knitters. Today I am going to show you how to do the 3D flame elements in the Melisandre shawl. There are two sizes of elements. The bigger ones are worked over 15 stitches and the smaller ones, like this one up here, is worked over 7 stitches. Here I have already marked the beginning of the next 3D element I want to make. And I am going to pick up the stitches right on top of the eyelet rows. You are holding your work in the same way as you have worked it, meaning that the garter stitch cast on is facing towards you and the edge of the shawl is facing away from you. Here you can see that these eyelet rows are always consisting of one stitch and one yarn over, which gives this little eyelet hole. And this makes it very easy to pick up the stitches because I can go into the purl bumps which are on top of the eyelet stitches. Here you see the purl bumps. This is the purl bump over the stitch. This is the purl bump over the yarn over. And these purl bumps we are going to pick up for the 3D flame element. Take your yarn and leave, let's say, maybe 4 inches of thread, because we will work the first row with a double thread so that the element will be fixed properly to the knitting. Go into the first purl bump you want to pick up. In this case, I am starting with a purl bump over the knit stitch here, and pull your working thread through the stitch. Then I'm picking up both threads to work the first few stitches with double yarn. The next purl bump I'm going to pick up is the one on top of the yarn over here. The next one is on top of the next knit stitch, that's this one. Top of the yarn over. Top of the knit stitch. Top of the yarn over. These are 6 stitches now, and I'm going to do the last one on top of the knit stitch here. Now I have picked up 7 stitches along this eyelet row, and I am ready to work the 3D flame element as it's also described in the pattern, using German short rows. The first 2 rows you will just knit in garter stitch, meaning that I'm now going to turn my work and knit the first row, which is a wrong side row. And I'm going to drop my yarn end, so I'm only going to work with 1 single thread now. Knit all 7 stitches. turn your work. The second row is the same. Knit all 7 stitches. And turn. Now I am going to make the first double stitch for the first German short row. To do this, put your yarn in front of the needle and insert the right hand needle purlwise into the first stitch and slip it off, and then pull your working yarn to the back of the right hand needle, creating a double stitch. This is actually the stitch of the row before, which gets pulled up by giving this little tug on your working yarn and will look like a double stitch later on. The remaining stitches of the row are knitted. Turn. The next row is a right side row, and you are knitting all stitches until you reach the double stitch. In this case, it are 6 stitches. Voila, here's my double stitch. Now you turn your work and make the next double stitch. Put your yarn to the front, slip the first stitch, give your working thread a little tug, and knit the remaining stitches. And continue in this way until you have only 2 stitches, 2 regular stitches left, which are not double stitches. Now I have worked all double stitches except for 2 stitches, and the last one will be, you're going to knit on the right side row these 2 stitches, turn your work, make the last double stitch here, and there's 1 remaining stitch which is going to be knitted, turn your work again, and you are ready to bind off these stitches. Knit the first stitch, knit the first double stitch, take care that you go into both threads and that you're working this as 1 stitch, and then you pull the first stitch over. Knit the next double stitch, pull stitch over. Knit the next double stitch, pull over. Continue in this way until you have worked off all your double stitches. Here's the last one. And to get a little bit of a better transition between the last ending stitch and the main shawl, what I do here is that I pick up and knit one more stitch, one more purl bump, and immediately bind it off again. So this will create another stitch and will make the transition a little bit smoother. Bind it off, pull it, knit it once more, break your yarn or use scissors and pull through. Give it a little tuck so that it will be tight, and here we go. And this is it. Here you can see the little three-dimensional flame we have created on the Melisandre shawl. Happy knitting!